So, welcome. This is new. Depending on when I put this up, either today or yesterday, because I'm incompetent and lazy, is International Trans Day of Visibility. Yay! 2020 quarantine edition because we're staying at home and being safe from the coronavirus. So, what a great time, I thought, to share my experience, because apparently I'm experienced of this, of being a transgender person in a single-sex school. So I realised back in about 2017 that I definitely wasn't like a girl. So originally I sort of was like, maybe I'm non-binary, we'll go with that for a bit. So I first came out as non-binary and I was like, guys, they, them, that's me, woo. That didn't last very long, purely because it just didn't feel right. I felt more masculine. So I was like, wait, am I trans? And that was like the big realisation was, oh damn, I am. Wow. So eventually I came out as transgender to my friends, and probably the most terrifying moment of my life, really. Apart from coming out to my family. So I came out as trans to my friends. They were really good about it. And they were like, well, what's your name? And I was like, I haven't got that far. So I thought about it and I was like, what do I like? And I eventually settled on Tristan because I like Arthurian literature, I like the name. I thought, hey, that's a really cool name to pick. Tristan. It's kind of got that, you know how trans men names always have like that really like gothy, like slight gothy vibe to them. I went for that and I was like, Tristan, that's the name I want and I like it, and that's what counts. So when I first came out, I came out to my friends and they were, again, girls' school, so they're all girls. And I was like, guys, I'm trans. And everyone was really, really accepting of it. And it was really quite nice finding really supportive friends who were willing to like change everything they knew about me to become this new person. And, you know, it took a few months to get used to it, as everything does. But they were so supportive. And honestly, like, my heart goes out to my mates for being like the greatest people known to man during that whole ass time. Then the next group of people I came out to was my form, and that was less okay. Because I came out as non-binary to begin with, and I said I want they, them pronouns. And it was really good because my form tutor helped me out, Miss Hancock, who's an absolute legend. She was like, you know, how do you want to tell the class? And I said, I just want to tell them. Just put my hand up and say, Miss, I've got something to share, and share it. And she was really supportive, and I always think she has been. But my form weren't as supportive. A lot of them started making jokes about it, which I didn't really like, obviously. And there were a lot of instances, and it very quickly spread around the year, that there was a not a girl in the year, and obviously being at a girls' school, that was quite awkward for people. And you know, there were several incidents that came up as a result. One that was probably stands out the most was we had like a cover lesson. It was like chemistry or something like that, and a girl got a post-it note and she went up behind me and she stuck it on my back, and it had the word haram on it, which is like, you know, something that's forbidden in Islamic law. And I was openly gay, and at this point I was basically openly trans, and she'd basically written like forbidden on my back. And I remember talking to her about it. I said, what's that for? And she was like, oh, because it's not normal, it's not right. And it was quite hard because I'd known this girl like 4 or 5 years at this point, and she'd just written illegal or like, you know, forbidden on my back. It was quite tough because, you know, you spend so long thinking you can trust these people and then suddenly you can't. And it was always really quite difficult. And then after the whole form, and then eventually the year, I came out to teachers. Initially it didn't go very well because I said I wanted they, them pronouns, and my head of year at the time was like, no, we can't do that. That's not a thing that's available to do. You know, teachers won't understand it, blah, 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 the usual sort of stuff. So I kind of waited a bit, and then 2 years later I joined sixth form. And I said to teachers, I want to be Tristan, my pronouns are he, him. And then they were so accepting of it. It's weird because I think that until you get to sixth form, they don't treat you as an adult and they don't think that you're capable of making your own decisions. Like, I don't think school was aware that there is no age limit to deciding your sexuality and your gender unless it's heterosexual and cisgender. And it's quite difficult because there was just like this, over the summer suddenly I was accepted by staff and people were quite happy to go, Tristan, oh well, he's that guy in year 13 and everyone knows Tristan because he's trans. But I didn't have that for 2 years of school. I kind of hated it, and I think it's so stupid because they're like, oh, well, you're year 10, you're not old enough to know whether you're trans or not. But I was like, I do know. I've known for a while. But obviously school don't think that. And it was quite difficult because there were trans people before me at school. And the guy who's this video is kind of inspired by, I'll leave his in the description because he's great. He's been basically through the same sort of thing. It was hard for him, and it was still quite hard for me. So another one of the difficulties that I generally faced being a guy in a girls' school was that, and anyone who goes there still will know about this, is that the teachers had a habit of assuming everyone was female and going, ladies, girls, can I have your attention, ladies, that sort of thing. And obviously this causes problems for people who are trans, who are non-binary. And even in classes where I was out to the teacher, they still said ladies. So I ended up turning it into like this joke, of, everyone has to listen except me because I'm not a lady and all that. But after a while I actually kind of realised that it was me kind of laughing at my own like invisibility, as it were, because why take it seriously, that sort of thing. And I definitely found it difficult, and anyone who's in this situation, it is difficult because you feel that you're ignored and that you're not really there, and you don't feel welcomed in a sense. And approached the head about this several times, saying, the trans community in the school don't feel welcome because the staff always say ladies or girls, and for a school that wants to be so progressive about these sort of issues, or tries to be so progressive, we'll say, it's not actually very progressive at all, especially in the way it addresses people. And even just generally, people don't want to be called that, but apparently no one wants to listen. And I think this kind of extended as well with the uniform policy, in that until I was in about year 10, so about 3 years ago, they didn't have trousers unless it was for religious reasons. And the trans guy who was there before me, he wore jeans to school, obviously, which caused friction about uniform. But when trousers were introduced, they weren't great. The uniform was never great. For something so expensive, it was terrible quality. But I think it was a big breakthrough for the trans community at my particular school. But I think it felt a bit token, as it was, so it was just sort of thrown there and people accepted it for what it was. It wasn't encouraging diversity kind of thing. And I think it caused a lot of problem for, I personally felt this because I tell people like I was a boy and they're like, oh, but you're in a skirt? Why are you a boy in a skirt? It's like, I don't want to be a boy in a skirt, I want to wear trousers. And especially towards like the end of my time at the school, I just gave up with trousers and started wearing leggings because they were built to be feminine, with like a flare 1970s bell bottom kind of thing. And I don't know, I always just felt that even when they tried to update the policy, it was always still really, really feminine. And it's quite annoying, really, because you try so hard to be accepted and then you're not, because the school doesn't want to accept you more, because it's just not that kind of place. Wow, it's actually really deep. But it was always kind of becoming an issue, and I don't think even now, 3 years on, it's actually really been addressed by the school. And I've tried to address it many times, but they won't have it. So there was always that. Definitely became an issue. And again, I feel for anyone who's still there, who faces this, and people who can't wear the uniform they want because of parents. Definitely took me a while to convince my mum that I wanted to wear trousers, not a skirt, to a girls' school. So another thing that I think a lot of trans people face just generally, but I faced that in a single-sex school, was transphobia. Predominantly because people were like, if you're a boy, why'd you go to a girls' school? And trying to explain that was always incredibly difficult. You know, why don't you just move? Well, I'm not out to my parents yet. And I faced a lot of transphobic stuff from other people. There was one particular incident where a girl in my biology class very openly said, "Oh, but Miss, there's only two genders," and Miss Beck and I identify as non-binary. And the teacher in the room fully well knew that I was non-binary, and she just went, "Well, that's your opinion." She didn't try and shut it down. She didn't try and say that's not appropriate things to be saying. You know, and everyone has the right to an opinion, but she didn't try to resolve the situation. And I told her afterwards that I feel targeted by that, and she went, "What can we do?" And I was like, "We can do something about it," but nothing was ever really done. And I always feel like anything that came up with transphobic at school was never dealt with because the school did not know how to deal with it. There was never any proper training in place for dealing with LGBT problems, because I don't think the school ever thought it'd become a problem. You know, I thought they thought there'd be this one guy and then that would be it. Then they realised that it would become a bigger issue, not an actual issue. And I think that after a while, people just sort of gave up trying to deal with it because nothing ever seemed to get done. You know, and I think that's why LGBT and running it became so important to me, because it was so nice to have my space that was for me, not for everyone. It wasn't like biology. It was somewhere that I could be myself and I could feel included. And I didn't feel like an outcast, because there are definitely times in high school and sixth form where I felt very isolated because I felt like no one else identified with me. But I think the way I kind of got around that was by having such supportive friends. You know, people who were then like, "Oh, someone said this about you, but it's okay. I told them off for it. I stood up for you." And I think that's a massive thing being LGBT in high school. It's having such supportive friends and surrounding yourself with supportive and positive people who are willing to sort of, not go through it with you, but support you in your journey into becoming who you are. I definitely feel that as I got older, I got more accepted by school, but I never felt truly accepted for who I was. And again, I think that's why LGBT became so important to me, because it was somewhere where I was accepted for me regardless of everything else going on in my life. And people, didn't kind of criticise me for being, like I said, a boy in a girls' school. I think that was the most important thing for me personally. And then ultimately, I managed to go from a nasty year 8 looking like this, actually decent looking year 13 looking like this. Is that part where I try to act like I know anything. And my advice for anyone who's not cisgender in a single-sex school, first of all, rip, but creds to y'all, because it sucks. And it's a hard time, and you'll struggle. I'm going to be completely honest, you'll struggle your way through it, and there'll be times where you kind of question if it's worth it, in a sense. But, you know, try and surround yourself with positive people who support you and love you, and if they don't support you, I don't think you need them in your life. I mean, I got people out of my life who were not supportive, who didn't like that I was trans, or didn't like that I was bi, and I was quite happy to say, well, you don't accept me, then I don't want anything to do with you, really. And it's cruel, but I think you have to support yourself and get people to support you, and that's a key thing. As well, you know, again, back to LGBT, get in touch with people who are like you. So they haven't got to be non-binary like you're non-binary, but knowing other non-cisgender people tends to help, or just other LGBT, and that's why I think LGBT, again, it's so important. And maybe bringing friends along to something like that, so they can learn about you, about who you are and what this means to you. And also, it's just nice. Show you good friends. Get yourself some good friends. Get good friends. I think the other thing is, it's really bad advice, but it does get easier as you get older. You know, now people want help now. Sometimes you've got to wait for it a bit and then go from there. But I think it just depends, you know. And there's always going to be difficult times. There will always be a difficult time. But as long as you surround yourself with people you trust, you don't get negativity, you know. Try and think positively as best as you can. Then I think that's the best part. Is trying to stay positive and realising that, you know, high school doesn't last forever. Unlike that one Boiling Pursuit song where it says high school never ends. High school doesn't last forever. That's actually a good band, I recommend them. But, you know, it's not the end of the world. And you can get through it. I believe in you. I got through it somehow. God knows how. But being yourself is the best way to get friends. But yeah, that's my advice from my experience that I say I have. Questionable if I really do or not. But yeah, that's it really. I always think it kind of sucked being trans in a single sex school. But at the end of the day, you can get through it. And it'll always be tough, but I think as long as you try your best to see the positive, yeah. But as for me and my sad life in quarantine, here we are. I'll leave some places down below that are good for LGBT help if you need them, as well as my socials and all that, so you can get in touch with me if that would be a thing you wanted to do. Talk about this more. I don't know. As well, just leave some stuff. What kind of stuff you want to see. Whatever really at this point. I'll make a video on anything. It's not going to be frequent. I don't have time for that. But it'll be every so often when I've got time or an idea. I'll just make something and appear. Like Shalom Jackie. But gay. Real gay. But yeah. Stay safe. Stay at home. Wash your hands. Stay at home. Save lives. Be safe. I love you all.